COVID-19 shutdown. We had rioting and looting and arson in some of our major cities across the country. And police officers, quite frankly, and firemen, were out there taking it on the chin almost every night. And so when Sam approached me with this idea, I thought this is something we need to get behind. And so I thank him. I thank Heroes First Home Loans that Sam works for that really pushed this idea. And it's really pretty simple. You know, the FHA had their Good Neighbor program, which allowed first responders to move into certain neighborhoods, but they had to be distressed. And quite frankly, folks, they were areas that police officers and firefighters were not going to move into, and the stock really wasn't there. There just weren't enough homes to really make it a viable program. So Sam's idea was fantastic. We needed a program that would allow first responders, our police, fire, our paramedics, our nurses, and our educators to be able to move into a home with no down payment, with no mortgage interest payment every month, and really make that home ownership available to them. So my hat's off to Sam, and I have to tell you, when I took the idea back to Washington, D.C., first person I talked to was Hannah Strube. Hannah is my legislative director from Washington, D.C. She's standing right over here. Hannah, give Hannah a hand. She's done a great job with this bill. And sadly, one of the hardest workers on this bill, who just spent untold hours making this a reality, is Lizzie Messer, who has now moved on to Cornerstone. She just left my office, I think it was September 3rd. So we're going to miss Lizzie, but the work that she did on this bill, and I'm excited about this bill, folks. We already have, just having dropped it, we already have 25 co-sponsors. Now, oddly enough, we have more Democrat co-sponsors right now than we do Republicans. And part of the reason for that is I pitched it hard to my bipartisan working group, and we actually got more Democrat sponsorship than we have Republicans, but we're going to change that. And the key is to getting this bill over the line is not just that we have bipartisan support, but I'm proud to tell you today that we've got bicameral support. And you know, back many years ago, a fella came to me when I was sheriff of Duval County here, and he was running for the U.S. Senate. And he wanted my support, and I tell you, I sat down with this fella, and it was very clear from the beginning that he supported police and first responders. And so I was very proud then to throw my endorsement behind this candidate who later became U.S. Senator Marco Rubio. And I'm proud to introduce him now.
Well, I want to thank the congressman for inviting me here today. I'm excited to be a part of this in the Senate side. And we're not allowed to file bills until we're in. We got to physically be there in session, so we'll be back in session next Monday, and we'll be filing this bill, and it'll be bipartisan, because you can't pass anything in the Senate without bipartisan support. You know, this is not something we're doing. This is not a measure of charity. It's not a nice thing to do. It's a necessity. If you go anywhere in the state, and I would envision probably many places in this country, one of the biggest challenges we are now facing is the cost of housing. There are counties in the state in which the people who serve that community, in the fire departments, in the police departments, EMTs, as teachers, can't live in the county, or they live, an hour and a half drive away. It's become real endemic. The cost of housing has risen dramatically. You see the median price of a home in Florida just skyrocketed in the last year, according to the realtors. And so you think about it, the cost of housing has skyrocketed, and I don't need to tell anybody in this room that the salaries of our firefighters, our teachers, our nurses, our police officers, our sheriff's deputies have not skyrocketed. So we've got a real challenge on our hand here. We've got a real challenge on our hand attracting and keeping people, good people in these professions, when they are not professions that allow you to live and in the community in which you work and serve because of the price. And so for us, this is an opportunity to do something at the federal level. We don't often get to do much at the federal level to help at the state and local level because first responders and the professions covered by this are largely covered, controlled, and regulated by the local government. But this is an opportunity to do something at the federal level that provides real help, real relief for working families. I always tell people, if you want to know what the cost of living in a community is, ask yourself, can a firefighter and a teacher, married couple, can they afford to live in that community? Because if the answer is no, you have a housing problem. Those are two jobs that should allow people, with a joint income at least, to be able to live in that community. There are a lot of parts of Florida where the answer to that question is already no. And so I'm hopeful that we can pass this and that it can open the door and the opportunity for home ownership, for more families who are serving us in the front lines after everything they continue to do for us every single day, from the schoolhouse to the firehouse. And so I thank you all for being here today, and I look forward to being a part of getting this done. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. And Chief Dembski. Come on up, Chief. He is from Daytona Beach Shores. He's with the Florida Police Chiefs Association, the president. So,
Thank
Chief,
you,
thank
Sheriff,
you.
I mean Congressman. Yes, sir. Good afternoon, and thank you for inviting me here today to represent the Florida Police Chiefs Association. My name is Stefan Dembinski, and I'm the Public Safety Director for the City of Daytona Beach Shores, but I'm currently the President of the Florida Police Chiefs. We speak on behalf of more than 900 of Florida's top law enforcement officers in the state. Today, we'd like to say thank you to Congressman Rutherford, Senator Rubio, and everybody who's helped put this legislation together. On a side note, Senator Rubio was our keynote speaker at our conference we just had a couple months ago in Hollywood at the Hard Rock. And I had to follow him then, too. And I told him when he was getting off the stage in Hollywood, I said, you've just ruined my whole night. He looked at me a little quizzically, but he's a very good speaker, and he's a tremendous senator. He's been a huge supporter of law enforcement, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate him coming today. Police officers understand their oath to protect, serve, and defend their communities means sacrifice. Over the past 18 months, that's meant willing to expose themselves to COVID-19 in the line of duty and potentially exposing their families. So far this year, more officers have died from COVID-19 than any other means. It's actually an epidemic in our business. It's the leading cause of death for police officers. At the same time, as Senator Rubio said, we're struggling to recruit new officers, especially in areas where the price of housing has soared. Too often, officers cannot afford to purchase a home in the communities they serve. That's a sad thing. In law enforcement, we talk a lot about community policing. In fact, the Florida Police Chiefs Association recently released a report called Pillars of Change that describes how building trust and strengthening relationships between the police and communities is the foundation for better policing. Certainly, true community policing means officers can afford to live in the communities that they serve. And so, the FPCA is proud to stand here today and support the Helper Act, which will give police officers and all first responders the opportunity to achieve home ownership in a community where it might not be possible in the past. Time and again, our nation's police officers have demonstrated their unwavering commitment to their communities without hesitation. The assistance provided by the Helper Act would be a tangible recognition of that commitment and a benefit all first responders have earned. I want to say thank you for inviting me. Sam Royer, I don't know where Sam was. Oh, he's right behind me. I know Sam personally. He's a wonderful person, and he's taken on this, and it's going to help all police, all first responders, and I appreciate you having me today. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. All right, now we're going to have a firefighter representative, Dr. Manuel Fonseca. He's the head of the National Association of Hispanic Firefighters.
Good afternoon, everybody. I need to tell you that I do stutter some, so if I get stuck, it is what it is, okay? Now, I've been in the fire service over 40 years. I began as at the age of 15 years old as a volunteer, moved into career, retired as a career, and now I continue being a volunteer, and now I continue being the president of the National Association of Hispanic Firefighters. The one thing we like as firefighters is to take care of families. That's it. We don't want presents, we don't want trophies, we don't want anything. We like a good working fire truck, we want good camaraderie, and we want to take care of families, because that's what we do. And we help each other when things come. This act will help us, because if I had to do it again today, if I woke up and said you get a second chance to redo my life again, I still do be a firefighter, but I could not live in the community I live today at all. I bought when the house was $60,000, the house is worth $500,000 today. I can't afford that as a young firefighter, given that I have to have down payments and everything. So it becomes very important that we provide opportunities for the young firefighters. I've met several here, one 7 months on, one 4 years on the job, and those guys are gonna get married tomorrow, have a family, and and grow their families. I did that with my job. So I support, and I hope that you can, and spread the word out that we need to support our firefighters. We need to support our first responders, teachers, and everybody who makes the community better. So I thank you, and I appreciate everything that you do for us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Fonseca. Next, Stuart Eubanks, International Association of EMTs and Paramedics.
Good afternoon. So, like Sam said, my name is Stuart Eubanks. I am a paramedic here in the state of Florida. I have been a paramedic for the last 13 years here. Prior to my civilian EMS career, I spent 10 years as an Army medic. Throughout the time of my career, I've watched multiple times as my coworkers and my peers have struggled to get ahead. You know, we think that maybe the last year and a half of our lives has possibly been one of the toughest things that we've ever had to deal with a pandemic that's spread globally. However, if we really want to get down to the nitty-gritty of it, one of the toughest things that we as EMS providers have had to face is simply overcoming financial burdens. We worked for less, we worked more, and when we see something like the Helper Act put in front of us that could allow the EMTs and paramedics, not only in the state of Florida but also nationwide, be able to finally afford a home, that's huge. Just this week, I've watched two of my coworkers come to me and ask me, I shared this program with them, and they asked me about it because they said they're in the process of trying to close on a home just this week, and all the hoops that they've had to jump through and the red tape and the amount of overtime that they've had to work just to have the amount of money they needed in the account to qualify for a loan is absolutely ridiculous. They're killing themselves just to get into an affordable home so that they can start a life for themselves. So to see the Heroes First take up this charge and to see the Helper Act as something that could potentially change that is monumental. And I thank everybody that's here today for their continued support of this act. I also want to say thank you to the congressman, thank you to the senator, thank you, Sam. I appreciate everything that you are doing with this. This will make a difference in the lives of so many people that are truly deserving of it. We appreciate the dedication of our law enforcement, our fire brethren, as well as those just in EMS, the teachers, the nurses. We're all one big family. We're all working together. And at the end of the day, what we all need is we need to be able to have a sustainable and affordable life, and we're be able to grow ourselves. So thank you again. I appreciate it.
Before I bring you up, Sheriff Williams, I just wanted to say if everybody could give a round of applause to actually the Jacksonville Fire Rescue for opening up their house for us. Thank you. All right, now let me introduce Sheriff Williams, Jacksonville Sheriff's Office.
Hey, good afternoon. I think it's fitting that, this week as we have the anniversary of 9/11, that we're standing here today rolling out support of a program that's going to honor first responders. I don't think there's a better example of the selfless sacrifice that this profession demands, that fire service and police service, EMT service demands in September 11th. And so as we think about that, let's take a minute this week to really remember that event and all those who lost so much during that time. But I do want to thank Sheriff Rutherford and Senator Rubio for championing a cause like this. It's incredible to have support like that in Washington, D.C. It means a lot to us. I know I speak for all the first responders that are here and in Northeast Florida when I say thank you for that support. And again, Sam, thank you and the Heroes First team for all the great work that they've done in really pushing this effort forward. So again, thanks a lot. I tell you, the bipartisan support is impressive. Hard to do in D.C. these days, but they've done a great job with that. And our first responders serve everyone every day, and this program will serve them back. So we obviously urge everyone to support it. Thank you very much.
All right, so one group that unfortunately couldn't be represented is the teachers today. I'm actually going to speak now. It might take a couple minutes, and most people in here that know me know I don't write my speeches out, but I had to for this one. So I just want to say good day. My name is Sam Royer, and I'm honored to be the National Director of Heroes First Home Loans. To say the least, it's been a long journey to get to this point. First and foremost, I would like to thank a few people who have helped catapult this journey to serve the heroes of our country. First and foremost, the heroes themselves, first responders, police, so please give them all a hand right now. EMTs, educators. Chuck Zeitzman, I don't know where you're at. There you are, Chuck. So Chuck, thank you for making the introduction to Congressman Rutherford. Without your introduction, we wouldn't be here today. Mike Hardwick and Matt Clark, I don't know where you guys are at, but they are right in front of me. Look at that. Your belief in me, your investment into this project, we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you having the true heart to serve others first. Thank you. You both live a life of, you can applause. You both live a life of servanthood, and it is a model for others to follow. I'm one of those followers. George McAwee. Who'd ever think two guys from Bethlehem, Pennsylvania would be trying to change the world? I mean, the only other one doing this is some movie star named Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson from high school, but who ever heard of that guy anyway? Let's change the world, brother. Although she couldn't be here, I know Congressman Rutherford spoke of her, but Lizzie Messer from Congressman Rutherford's office, without your heart and passion, Lizzie, we wouldn't have gotten this far. You are a champion, and you have a huge future ahead. To the Heroes First Home Loans and Churchill Mortgage team, you guys put up with me every day. Late to bed, early to rise, who has a dream to change the world for heroes. I live my passion through you daily. Thank you for sharing the journey. My beautiful wife, Maria, not sure how you do it, but thank you for being my partner along this crazy ride. Most importantly, Congressman John Rutherford, 41 years, correct, of law enforcement. And now, sir, you are trying to change a country for the men and women who serve in our communities. You did not forget where you came from. You continue to serve, and I cannot thank you enough for leading by example, charging ahead, and bringing the light to what the men and women of this country deserve, to be homeowners much more affordably, like the military members and veterans of today. Thank you, sir, from the bottom of my heart for believing in this mission. We will not fail. Joining the mission, Senator Rubio. I cannot thank you enough for joining the fight in the Senate to help all law enforcement officers, firefighters, EMTs, and educators in the pursuit of more attainable and affordable housing. It's leaders like you that pick up the torch of freedom to honor our community heroes. I know this is our first meeting, but I want you to know we will be your grassroots in the endeavor to get the ball over the goal line for the servants of America, those that are there when we need them most. And to those that are teaching our future leaders like yourself, thank you, sir. We will not fail you. And lastly, my mom who is here and my dad, John, who celebrates his 4 years in heaven this Friday. Thank you for always being there for me, loving me, and showing me a true heart of a servant, being a nurse and a teacher and serving our communities. I love you with all my heart. I know Dad is watching from above. As a United States Marine Corps veteran, this Saturday, September 11, 2021, will be a somber day to reflect back on the last 20 years. The 20th anniversary of one of the worst attacks on America, That day, 343 firefighters, 60 law enforcement officers, and 8 emergency medical technicians lost their lives. These men and women gave the ultimate sacrifice and ran in when other people were running out. The last few days, I've been remembering, watching, and learning more of their stories. Many of them were in their early 20s. Some served for over 20 years. All were heroes. This Friday, on the anniversary of my father's passing, I could not ask to be in a better place than with 300 law enforcement officers from the Tour de Force New York ride that for 20 years now has rode their bikes 250 to 300 miles yearly to raise money for fallen officers' families from the year prior. Why do they do it? They ride because the men and women in blue are protecting our streets daily, and just this year alone, over 240 of them gave their lives in the line of duty. Just recently, one of our local heroes passed on from a gunshot wound he suffered while serving his community. His name was Officer Jason Rayner of the Daytona Beach Police Department, and he was only 26 years old. Educators, like my father John, these community heroes, especially now, are serving on the front lines of chaos, confusion, and public scrutiny, no matter what side of belief system you are on. COVID has been made their jobs even more difficult with masks versus no masks, the public being outraged because of politics, when in fact all most teachers want to do is teach our future generations to make America a better, brighter place. Let all the noise go and realize we entrust these leaders with our greatest gifts God could give us, our children. Hours a day from the tender age of 5 to 6 until they leave our homes at 17 to 18, teachers are guides, supporters, counselors, and so much more. Who doesn't remember that one special teacher that positively impacted their life? Earlier, I spoke of a guy that George and I went to high school with named Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Well, I know Dwayne's story from reading about it, and if it wasn't for our football coach, Jody Swick, a teacher, The Rock may not have been the man he is today. A teacher changed his life. Finally, the men and women who run in when others are running out. The men and women who put on the gear and their EMT brothers and sisters that are there when times are the worst for many. A non-responsive spouse, a baby that is badly burned, or a building that is about to collapse. These heroes have been there when we needed them most, and in many cases are unsung heroes. I once asked a firefighter, how many times have you saved someone's life, and they came back to the fire station to say thank you. His response after 21 years of service, maybe twice. As a Marine Corps veteran who is very proud of his service and loves what the military has done for me, and after 24 years of successfully lending to America's heroes, it has come to me that we needed to do something for not only those that serve across the oceans when called, but the heroes that stand their ground on America's soil as well. The law enforcement officers, the firefighters, and EMTs that run in when others are running out, and the teachers that give back to the future. We needed to make their homeownership aspirations more affordable, as mine and others are with the VA Home Loan Program. That is why the HELPER Act is so vital for America's heroes. This program not only gives a more affordable option to the community heroes, but it also gives them an unlimited supplies of homes in the areas they serve that they can choose from. With no geographical restrictions, after 4 years of service, these leaders would still qualify just like a normal FHA loan that is in place today. The only difference is no money down requirement and no monthly mortgage insurance for maximum affordability. Especially now, like the Senator spoke about, with home prices appreciating, it is forcing these heroes out of buying range for the families, which we in America should not allow. This common sense legislation that the HELPER Act instills has no partisan boundaries, and be it Democrat or Republican, we all love the heroes of our community, and we should strive to help them achieve the dream of homeownership more affordably. Senator Rubio, Congressman Rutherford, thank you for leading the charge. I truly pray your colleagues, no matter what side of the aisle they are on, take this legislation seriously and finally do for America what it should have years ago. Honor those that serve not only abroad, but those on the home front as well. Their lives are on the line in many of the same ways as our military, and their leadership in the classrooms deserve this tremendous benefit. It is up to you both to continue in the fight, and I know everyone here in this crowd will have your back, whatever you need to make the dream a reality for so many heroes. Now, we will open it up for questions. And Senator Rubio, Congressman Rutherford, if you'd like to come up. The questions are directed for the Helper Act. If there's any questions about anything else, we could talk later. But right now, any questions about the Helper Act, if you gentlemen would like to come up. Thank you.
I know it's hot. Any questions? Chuck. Is there any reason that anyone would not want to support this bill? I would think not, and I will tell you why. When you get to the financing of this, one of the things that we wanted to make sure was that FHA was protected. And so they pay a 3.6% upfront, small fee, and then they don't have to pay that monthly every year, year in and year out. And so it really should be revenue neutral for FHA. So I don't know any reason that an individual congressman or woman or senator could not get behind this.
Well, there's always someone against something. And a lot of things get in the way of these things passing sometimes. You know, some of it's jurisdictional, like someone's committee is supposed to oversee it and they're mad that it didn't go through their committee. Sometimes there's a cost component attached to it people want a closer look at in terms of whether government should continue to expand being involved in this. So I think the best answer to your question is I don't believe there's any good reason to be against it. And I say that with respect to someone who may have a principled position that I haven't heard yet. But I think we'll have broad support. And really the question is more, can we find the time in the schedule of all the other things Congress is dealing with to get this thing passed? My hope is that we can have unanimous support, because if we can, then we can pass it very quickly out of the Senate.
So, Chuck, just to your point, so everybody knows, so that upfront mortgage insurance premium is exactly the same as a veteran or military member would use for their second use. So it's something that we crafted in a way that basically if one of these firefighters used the program, if they sold their house within a year, it wouldn't make sense for them to do it. But after about a 24 to 28 month living sense, it's exactly the same as a traditional FHA mortgage, and then their long-term savings is for the rest of the time they hold on to that mortgage in that home. So it is much more affordable for them.
And we should say too, it's a one-time use. They get one time to use this option, and that limits the exposure as well to the federal government.
Any other questions? If not, we'll be around for other questions, but you want to say anything?
No, that's good. Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for coming out. We appreciate it.